Have you ever woken up, sat down for breakfast and thought to yourself, well, this is how I've started my day for decades. It's safe. It's familiar. It's just what I do. Maybe it's a slice of toast, a little jam, maybe a cup of tea or a bowl of cereal. You've probably been doing it for years without a second thought. But what if I told you that something sitting right there on your breakfast plate might be quietly putting your heart at risk? I know that sounds dramatic, but let me share something with you that really shook me to the core. There was an 82-year-old woman, sharp as a tack, still walking her dog every morning, loved her morning crossword, and never missed breakfast. Everyone around her said the same thing. She's so healthy for her age. But then one quiet Tuesday morning, after breakfast, she collapsed on her front porch. Her neighbor rushed over, called 911, and within minutes she was in the ER with a heart rhythm so erratic the doctors could barely stabilize her. Now, of course, at 82, your body has its wear and tear. But the real surprise came later when the cardiologist sat down with her daughter and said something none of them expected. It's likely her breakfast contributed to this. That's when I leaned in. Because this wasn't someone who ate fast food or drank soda for breakfast. This was someone who ate what most of us would consider normal. A little fruit-flavored yogurt, a piece of toast with margarine, and her favorite healthy cereal. And maybe, just maybe, one of those things or a combination of them had slowly been sabotaging her heart without her even knowing it. And she's not alone. See, once we hit 60, and especially after 70, our bodies change in ways we don't always see. Foods that seemed harmless in our 40s or even 50s can suddenly become dangerous, not because the food itself changed, but because our bodies did. Our arteries get stiffer, our hearts have to work harder, our blood sugar doesn't regulate itself as quickly, and that means our usual breakfast, and that comforting routine we rely on, might actually be pushing us closer to fatigue, dizziness, memory fog, or worse. So today I want to talk with you, not at you. This isn't about fear, it's about awareness. Because once you know which 5 common breakfast foods are quietly increasing your heart risk, you can make tiny swaps that protect your heart, boost your energy, and give you more control over your health than you might think. Let's start with the one that's hiding in plain sight, and probably sitting in your fridge right now. Flavored yogurt. I know, it sounds healthy. It's got that word yogurt, after all. And yogurt is supposed to be good for your gut, right? Calcium, probiotics, protein, all those good things. But here's the problem. Most of the fruit-flavored yogurts, especially the ones marketed as low-fat or heart-healthy, are loaded with hidden sugars. And not just cane sugar, but corn syrup, fructose, and all sorts of sweeteners that spike your blood sugar faster than a donut. You might be thinking, well, it's just a small cup. That can't hurt, can it? But think about this. When we're over 60, our insulin sensitivity drops. That means sugar lingers in our blood longer. Our pancreas has to work overtime. And the more spikes and crashes we experience in the morning, especially first thing, the more stress we place on our heart throughout the day. Worse yet, many of those flavored yogurts come with artificial sweeteners. And some recent studies have linked artificial sweeteners like aspartame or sucralose with irregular heartbeats in older adults. That's exactly what the doctors suspected in the case of the 82-year-old woman. Her morning yogurt, the same brand she'd eaten for 10 years, had slowly been contributing to inflammation and rhythm issues in her heart. And the scariest part? She thought she was doing the right thing. Now that doesn't mean you can never eat yogurt. In fact, plain, unsweetened yogurt, especially the kind with live cultures, can still be wonderful for your digestion. But if it tastes like strawberry shortcake or key lime pie, it's probably more dessert than breakfast. Instead, try plain Greek yogurt, and if you need a little sweetness, add a few fresh berries or a drizzle of honey. That way, you control the sugar, not the food company. Now let's talk about another sneaky culprit, something so common it feels almost impossible to avoid: toast. Now don't worry, I'm not going to tell you to give up bread forever, but the kind of bread we reach for in the morning makes a world of difference, especially after 60. You know that soft, white, fluffy bread that practically melts in your mouth when it pops out of the toaster. That's the one I'm talking about. White bread is made from refined flour, which means all the fiber, nutrients, and natural oils have been stripped away. What you're left with is basically fast-burning starch that behaves almost exactly like sugar in your body. So even if you're not putting jam or jelly on it, that slice of toast still causes a sugar spike. And remember, the older we get, the slower our bodies recover from those spikes. Even worse, many commercial breads contain preservatives and emulsifiers that have been linked to gut inflammation. And when the gut becomes inflamed, it can lead to a cascade of problems, from fatigue to immune issues to heart strain. One man I spoke to, 74 years old, retired teacher, never smoked a day in his life, told me how he started getting these odd dizzy spells around mid-morning. He blamed it on his age, or maybe dehydration, but after we looked at his diet, the issue became clearer. Every morning, 2 slices of white toast with margarine and a cup of coffee. Within 20 minutes, his blood sugar would spike. Then, by 10 a.m., it would crash. And that crash left him lightheaded and shaky. His heart had to compensate every time, which over time, according to his cardiologist, may have contributed to the subtle arrhythmia they found later. So if you're still reaching for white bread in the morning, try swapping it for a slice of sprouted grain bread or whole rye. These have more fiber, which slows the sugar rush. And more importantly, they don't leave your heart racing 2 hours later. Now, I know this might feel like a lot already. You've eaten these things for years, and they feel like part of who you are. But I promise you, the tiniest shift in your breakfast habits can lead to more energy, better digestion, and less stress on your heart. I'm not asking you to give up flavor or to live like a monk. I'm just asking you to be aware, to pause for a moment when you reach for something and ask yourself, is this food serving my body today, or is it just a habit? Because habits are powerful, and breakfast is the most repeated habit of our lives, and that gives us a beautiful opportunity to make a meaningful change, and one forkful at a time. Now, we've talked about flavored yogurt and white bread, 2 big ones, but there's another one I need to bring up, and I say this with all the kindness in the world: margarine. You remember when doctors used to tell us to throw out the butter and switch to margarine? That margarine was the heart-healthy choice. Well, turns out a lot of that advice was based on old science. Margarine, especially the kind that comes in tubs or sticks and lasts months in your fridge, is full of trans fats and ultra-processed oils that are incredibly hard on your arteries. Even the ones that say no trans fats on the label often have other synthetic ingredients that may still inflame your blood vessels. And inflammation is one of the root causes of heart disease. Here's the real kicker: that 82-year-old woman. Her toast had margarine on it every single morning because her doctor told her years ago to ditch the butter. So she did, faithfully, without ever knowing that what she swapped in could be just as dangerous, if not more so, as what she gave up. If you want something to spread on your toast, try a little real butter, in moderation, or even better, mashed avocado or nut butter without added sugar. They provide healthy fats your body can actually use. Small choices, big difference. And that's really what this is all about. Not fear, not guilt, just knowledge, empowerment. A reminder that even at 60, 70 or 80, your body still listens to what you give it. It still responds. It still wants to protect you. You just have to give it the right tools. Let's keep going, because there are still a few more common breakfast foods that might be quietly chipping away at your heart health. And the next one is something you might be drinking every single morning without realizing how it's affecting your heartbeat. And the next one is something you might be drinking every single morning without realizing how it's affecting your heartbeat. Let's talk about fruit juice. Now, I know orange juice has long been seen as part of the classic American breakfast. A glass of sunshine, they used to say. Full of vitamin C, good for your immune system. You probably grew up hearing that. But here's what they don't always tell you. That glass of orange juice, especially the kind from a carton, isn't the same as eating a fresh orange. Not even close. When you drink fruit juice, you're essentially getting all the sugar and almost none of the fiber. And without the fiber to slow things down, your blood sugar shoots up fast. That sugar spike puts pressure on your pancreas, then your heart, and then, like a boomerang, comes the crash. Fatigue, irritability, dizziness. Sound familiar? There was a gentleman I once met in a senior fitness class. He'd 68, cheerful, used to jog a mile every morning, but he said something interesting. He'd started feeling shaky and out of breath just halfway through the class. Not dizzy, just off. So we chatted. I asked him about breakfast, and there it was. Every morning, a bowl of cereal and a big glass of orange juice. No protein, no fiber, just fast sugar. He had no idea that one glass of juice could contain as much sugar as a can of soda, but the body doesn't care whether the sugar came from fruit or fizz. It still has to process it. And after 60, our processing speed slows down. Even the no sugar added juices can be tricky. Because they're still concentrated, that means you're consuming the sugar from several oranges, apples, or grapes, without any of the peel, pulp, or fiber that nature intended to come with it. Now, I'm not saying you can never enjoy fruit. Quite the opposite. Well, fruit is wonderful, especially whole fruit. A sliced apple with almond butter, fresh berries on oatmeal, those come with nutrients and fiber that your body knows how to handle. But if you're drinking your fruit, especially first thing in the morning, it may be time to rethink it. Your heart doesn't want a sugar roller coaster before 9 a.m., and that brings us to another popular breakfast habit. One that might surprise you. Instant cereals. You know the kind I'm talking about. The ones that say ready in 60 seconds or just add hot water. They come in those neat little packets. Flavored, sweetened, sometimes even with heart healthy on the box. And yes, they're convenient, especially when you don't feel like cooking or your joints are stiff in the morning. But here's the problem. Most instant cereals are highly processed. That means the oats are broken down into tiny pieces, the fiber is reduced, and what's left digests so quickly it sends your blood sugar soaring. Even the ones labeled as whole grain or multigrain can be misleading, because when grains are pulverized and pre-cooked, your body doesn't treat them the same way it treats whole, slow-cooked oats. It absorbs them fast, too fast, and, just like with juice, that quick sugar hit comes at a price, a spike, followed by a crash. And then you're hungry again before lunch, reaching for a snack, maybe even feeling sluggish or anxious without realizing why. One woman I know, she's 76, a retired nurse, sharp as ever, told me she'd been waking up with a racing heart and occasional palpitations. Her doctor checked her blood pressure, did some scans, found nothing alarming, but something still felt off. So she started tracking her mornings, what she ate, how she felt afterward. And do you know what made the biggest difference? Switching from her favorite apple cinnamon instant oatmeal packet to real steel-cut oats, cooked slowly with cinnamon and walnuts. That one change made her feel calmer, more energized, and less jittery before noon. She said, I had no idea my food was doing this to me. And that's really the key, isn't it? So many of us walk around thinking our age is the reason we feel tired, achy, or foggy. And yes, age plays a role. But often the food we put in our bodies, especially in the morning, is either helping or hurting us more than we know. Now, we've talked about yogurt, toast, margarine, fruit juice, and instant cereals. But there's one more thing I want to touch on, and it's something most of us drink every single day: coffee. Now, before you gasp, let me reassure you, I'm not going to tell you to give up your morning cup. For many people, coffee is a ritual. It brings comfort, warmth, even a little joy, and in moderate amounts it can even have some health benefits. But here's the important part. How we drink our coffee matters, and what we add to it can make a big difference, especially as we age. Many creamers, even the ones that say non-dairy or sugar-free, are filled with artificial ingredients, hydrogenated oils, and chemical additives that your heart and liver have to work hard to filter out. And flavored syrups? A single pump can add 5 to 10 grams of sugar. Add 2 pumps, and suddenly your coffee has more sugar than a dessert. Plus, caffeine affects everyone differently. Some people metabolize it slowly, which means a strong cup in the morning can leave their heart racing or their blood pressure climbing well into the afternoon. One viewer wrote in and shared how she stopped adding sugary creamer to her coffee and noticed her afternoon headaches disappeared within a week. Another man said he switched to half-caff and found his nighttime sleep improved. He said, "I didn't realize my morning coffee was stealing my evening rest." So again, it's not about quitting, it's about tweaking. Try using a splash of unsweetened almond or oat milk. Try cinnamon for flavor instead of sugar. And if you notice your heart fluttering or your energy crashing mid-morning, experiment with cutting back just a bit. You'd be surprised how quickly your body responds when you take away the things that make it fight harder than it should. Now I want to pause for a second and say something important. This isn't about guilt. It's not about blaming yourself for what you didn't know. It's about empowerment. Every day we wake up, we have choices. And even the smallest breakfast change, one food swap, one ingredient removed, can lighten the load on your heart, soothe your nervous system, and give you a better start to your day. You've lived through so much. You've earned the right to feel good in your body. You deserve a breakfast that gives you energy, steadiness, and peace, not one that sneaks in sugar, inflammation, or stress. So maybe tomorrow morning as you stand in your kitchen, sleepy-eyed, hand on the coffee pot, you'll pause for just a moment, and you'll remember this gentle conversation we've shared. You'll ask, is this choice helping me feel the way I want to feel today? And if the answer isn't yes, maybe you'll choose something better. Maybe you'll scramble an egg instead of reaching for that instant packet. Maybe you'll grab a handful of nuts instead of pouring juice. Maybe you'll feel a little more in control. And that, my friend, is what this journey is all about, because it's never too late to make a change, never too late to give your heart a break, never too late to say, I choose better today. Let's keep walking this path together, one calm, steady morning at a time. And you know, the more I talk to people in their 60s, 70s, even 80s, the more I hear the same quiet frustration beneath their words. They say, I don't feel like myself anymore. My energy just isn't there. I eat less, but I gain more. My heart beats funny sometimes, and I don't know why. And most of the time, it's not some huge diagnosis causing it. It's not always the medicine or the weather or even aging itself. Often, it's the tiny things, repeated every day, that slowly wear the body down. Breakfast is one of the biggest of those tiny things. Because what you eat within the first hour of waking up sets the tone for everything that follows. It sets your blood sugar level, your blood pressure, your mood, your cravings, even how deeply you'll sleep that night. And when you put the wrong fuel in the tank, or even without realizing it, your body lets you know, through fatigue, through brain fog, through that anxious flutter in your chest when you climb the stairs or stand too fast. But when you start your day with real, whole, supportive foods, suddenly your body doesn't have to fight so hard. Your heart beats easier, your mind feels sharper, your joints hurt a little less, your smile comes a little quicker. That's not fantasy, that's chemistry. And now that we've talked about those 5 common culprits, flavored yogurt, white bread, margarine, fruit juice, and instant cereals, maybe you're starting to see how these seemingly harmless habits add up. Let me tell you a story that still gives me goosebumps. There was a woman in her early 80s. Her name was Ruth. She lived alone but was fiercely independent. She still drove, still baked, still sent handwritten birthday cards to all 6 of her grandchildren. But one morning, Ruth stood up from the kitchen table and collapsed. No warning, no chest pain, just down. She was lucky. Her neighbor heard her fall and came running. The ambulance arrived fast. The hospital ran test after test, and what they found shocked everyone. Ruth's heart rhythm had gone into something called atrial fibrillation. Not a heart attack, not a stroke, but a misfire in the heart's electrical system that can lead to both. The doctor asked what she'd eaten that morning. Her daughter answered without hesitation. Her usual: yogurt, toast, orange juice, instant oatmeal. That's how she starts every single day. And that's when the doctor looked up and gently said, "We may need to look at that usual." That moment changed everything for Ruth's family because it made them realize how deeply our morning rituals shape our health and how easy it is to keep doing what feels familiar even when it's no longer safe. But here's the beautiful part. Ruth made a few simple changes. She switched to plain Greek yogurt with a sprinkle of ground flaxseed. She replaced her white toast with half a slice of sprouted bread and used a little olive oil instead of margarine. She said goodbye to orange juice and started drinking warm water with lemon. And instead of instant oats, she made a small batch of steel-cut oats on Sunday and kept it in the fridge for the week. Nothing radical, just subtle shifts. And 6 weeks later, at her follow-up appointment, her heart rhythm had stabilized, her blood pressure had evened out. She said she felt clearer, calmer, more like herself again. And isn't that what we all want? To feel like ourselves again, to wake up and not dread the day, to move without fear, to breathe without tightness in the chest, to trust our bodies again. You don't need a pantry full of supplements. You don't need to live on kale and quinoa. You just need to know which everyday foods are quietly working against you, she taught, and how to swap them for something better. Because your body is still listening, even now. It listens to the first bite of food you give it. It listens when you choose the slower option over the fast one. It listens when you say, "I deserve better than this ultra-processed garbage pretending to be food." It listens and it thanks you. With steadier hands, stronger steps, longer breaths and clearer mornings, you might not notice the difference on day 1 or day 2, but keep going. Day 5 feels different, day 10 feels better. And by day 20, you may wake up and realize you didn't have that strange flutter in your chest or that fog behind your eyes. You may feel more like you again. So if you've been eating these common breakfast foods for years, don't feel bad, don't panic, you're not alone. Millions of people have been marketed to for decades with bright labels and heart-shaped logos and phrases like low-fat or cholesterol-free. But now you know better, and that's powerful. You get to choose how you nourish yourself. You get to be the protector of your heart, not just in the emotional sense, but in the literal, physical, life-giving sense. Because that's what breakfast is when you strip away all the branding and habits and autopilot. It's nourishment, it's fuel, it's the first act of love you give yourself every day. And you deserve love, you deserve peace, you deserve mornings that feel strong, not scattered, calm, not chaotic, safe, not risky. So the next time you reach for that spoon or toaster or mug, pause, take a breath. Remember Ruth. Remember that 82-year-old woman who collapsed and then got back up and changed everything. And remember that you have the same power in your hands. Your story isn't finished, your mornings aren't fixed in stone, your heart still wants to beat strong for you, to walk with you, to hold space for joy and laughter and quiet moments. Let it. And if you're ever unsure, if you stand in front of your fridge and wonder what to choose, come back to this space, this voice, this reminder that you're not alone, that you're seen, that you're worth protecting. One breakfast at a time. Sometimes the hardest part isn't making the change, it's believing the change is worth making. Especially after 60, it's so easy to think, well, I've made it this far, why start now? Or even, at my age, does it really matter what I eat for breakfast? But let me tell you something from one heart to another. It matters more than ever. Because now, every small step forward brings a greater return. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to flip your whole diet upside down overnight. You just need to start noticing, start adjusting, start caring again, not out of fear, but out of respect, for the life you've built, for the people who love you, and for yourself. One of the most touching messages I ever received came from a woman named Gloria. She was 79, had lost her husband 3 years earlier, and had quietly started letting go of herself. Not out of sadness, but just fatigue. The routines that used to bring her joy felt pointless. She'd open the fridge, grab whatever was easiest, and tell herself it didn't really matter anymore. But one day she stumbled on a video, something like this one, and something clicked. She said, "It was the first time in a long time I felt like someone was speaking directly to me, not trying to fix me, not selling me something, just reminding me that I was still here, still alive, and worth the effort." Gloria started with just one change. She swapped her sugary cereal for scrambled eggs with spinach. Just that. No rules, no counting, no guilt. Within a week, she noticed she had more energy, a little more light in her step. Her morning walk got longer. Her appetite for life, not just food, returned. That's what happens when you start treating your body like a friend instead of a burden. It starts responding with grace, with strength, with hope. And if you're sitting there right now thinking, "I don't even know where to begin," then let me tell you this. Begin with the next bite. That's it. Not tomorrow, not Monday, just the next bite. Maybe you set aside the toaster pastry and reach for a hard-boiled egg instead. Maybe you say no to the flavored creamer and yes to a splash of milk. Maybe you add a handful of walnuts to your morning oatmeal instead of brown sugar. Those tiny choices, they build a bridge back to vitality. I know it's not flashy. I know it's not easy. Habits hold on tight, especially when they've been with us for decades. But you're stronger than you think. You've survived storms. You've rebuilt after loss. You've kept going when the path was unclear. Changing breakfast? That's small potatoes compared to the things you've already faced. But what makes this different, what makes it beautiful, is that this change is just for you, not for work, not for family, not for someone else's approval, just for your own heart, your own energy, your own peace of mind. You know, I've always believed there's something sacred about the first meal of the day. It's quiet. The world hasn't crowded in yet, the phone's not ringing, the news hasn't filled your head with noise. It's just you and your plate. What you choose in that moment says a lot about how you feel about yourself. Do you choose rush? Or do you choose nourishment? Do you choose what's convenient or what's kind? Because that's really what this is about, kindness. To eat well, especially as we age, is a form of self-kindness. It's not punishment. It's not denial. It's not some strict set of rules you have to follow like you're in boot camp. It's care. It's grace. It's love, and love takes time. It takes listening. It takes forgiveness for the days you reach for the wrong thing, and patience for the days you try again. So maybe tomorrow, you give yourself 5 extra minutes. You make that soft-boiled egg. You sit at the table instead of standing at the counter. You chew slowly. You breathe between bites. And in that moment, you remember you're still here. You're still growing. You're still worth the effort. And no matter how many years you've lived, your body still wants to feel good. Your heart still wants to beat strong. Your mornings still want to start soft, steady, and full of life. The foods we talked about, the ones that can quietly harm your heart after 60, they don't need to define you. They don't get the final say. You do. You can say, "I choose foods that fuel me. I choose mornings that don't leave me tired by noon. I choose to protect the only heart I've got." And when you make that choice again and again, day by day, something powerful happens. You reclaim your morning. You reclaim your energy. You reclaim yourself, not by becoming someone new, but by remembering who you've always been. Strong, resilient, worthy of care. And just in case no one has told you that lately, let me say it now. You are worthy of care. You're not too late. You're not too old. You're not too far gone. You're right on time to begin again. And this breakfast habit, this small shift, it's not the end of the story. It's just the beginning. You know, if we're being honest, most people don't change because of information. They change because of a moment when something finally clicks. Sometimes it's a diagnosis. Sometimes it's watching a friend's health decline. Sometimes it's looking in the mirror and realizing you don't recognize the tired face looking back. And sometimes it's just a quiet morning, sitting with a cup of coffee, listening to a voice like mine and feeling a spark inside whisper, "I'm ready." If that's you right now, if something in you is stirring even just a little, I want you to listen to it. That tiny spark matters more than you know, because it means you still care. It means you haven't given up on your body, on your energy, on your life. And you shouldn't. Not when there's so much left to feel, to do, to enjoy. Your heart has carried you this far. Why? Through grief, through joy, through heartbreak and healing. The least we can do is return the favor. Feed it right. Treat it gently. Wake up every morning with the intention not just to live, but to feel alive. And part of that, the haze, starts with the food we put on our plates. Now maybe today your plate looks different than it used to. Maybe instead of margarine and toast, it's avocado and an egg. Maybe your yogurt is no longer pink and sweet, but creamy and plain, with a few fresh berries on top. Maybe your juice has been replaced by warm water and lemon. Maybe your instant oats are now simmered on the stove. Slowly, patiently, the way your body prefers to be treated at this stage in life. And maybe that one choice makes the rest of the day easier. Maybe your energy holds steady, your mood feels lighter, your hands are steadier, your breath deeper. That's what happens when your breakfast stops fighting your heart and starts feeding it. Because food isn't just fuel, it's a signal. What you eat tells your body whether to be calm or inflamed, stable or spiked, focused or foggy. And once you understand that, you realize every meal is an opportunity to write a different story. And speaking of stories, maybe it's time to rewrite the one you've been telling yourself. The one that says, "I'm too old to change." The one that says, "I've eaten this way my whole life. Why stop now?" Or the one that quietly whispers, "What's the point?" But you see, you are the point. You matter. Your comfort matters. Your strength matters. Your days, your years, they matter. You are not some forgotten elder on the sidelines. You are living proof that life still has more to offer and that you still have more to offer it. And it starts, not with a diet, not with a program, but with a decision. A decision to say, I want mornings that support me, not drain me. I want a heart that beats strong and steady. I want to feel like myself again, or maybe even better than before. Because this isn't about becoming younger, it's about becoming lighter. Lighter in body, in mood, in spirit. Imagine waking up and not reaching for the antacids, not rubbing your temples by 10 a.m., not dragging through the day like your energy is stuck in molasses. Imagine feeling clear, comfortable, awake. Imagine trusting your body again, the way you did decades ago before the noise, the ads, the clutter of confusing advice took that trust away. That's what's possible when you eat in a way that aligns with your body's needs now, not 10 or 20 years ago. Our needs change. Our bodies evolve. And the good news is it's never too late to meet your body where it is and say, I'm listening now. So maybe tomorrow morning, when the house is quiet and the light filters through the window just right, you'll make something different, something simple, honest, nourishing, and you'll take that first bite. And know you're not just feeding your body, you're honoring it, you're thanking it for everything it's done for you. Every mile walked, every ache carried, every heartbeat given freely. That's a beautiful thing. And as you finish that quiet breakfast, just you and the plate and the promise of a new day, I hope you feel proud because you made a choice, a kind one, a wise one, and you'll make it again tomorrow, and the day after that, and every morning that follows, until it's no longer a change, but simply your new rhythm, one that honors your heart, nourishes your body, and gives you the energy to keep living, loving, and laughing in all the ways that matter, because you deserve mornings like that. You deserve a life that feels good from the inside out. And no matter your age, that life can start right now. There's something quiet but powerful about choosing to care for yourself in a world that often forgets to care for people your age. It's easy to feel overlooked, like your time has passed, like health advice is always aimed at younger folks chasing six-packs or counting calories on an app. But what about you? What about the people who've already done the hard work, raised kids, cared for others, showed up every day when it wasn't easy? Where's the advice for those who still want to feel good, not to impress anyone, not to check off some goal, but simply because you want to enjoy the life you've earned? That's who I'm talking to right now. You who may have quietly accepted discomfort as the new normal. You who's learned to live with brain fog, with mid-morning crashes, with a racing heart and an uneasy stomach, as if that's just the cost of getting older. But it's not. Getting older doesn't mean surrendering your well-being. It doesn't mean handing over your mornings to sugar crashes and inflammatory foods that your body no longer tolerates. It means listening more carefully, being more intentional, trusting that what you put on your plate, even now, especially now, it can be one of the most powerful decisions you make each day. You've made it through decades of change. You've adapted to loss, to grief, to uncertainty. Adapting your breakfast? You can do that with your eyes closed, or maybe just halfway open after your first sip of coffee. But in all seriousness, your choices still matter. Your life still matters. And your health, however imperfect, is still worth nurturing. And if you've listened this far, if you've stayed with me through all these quiet moments, then I want you to know something. You've already taken the first step. You've already said, I'm ready to understand. I'm ready to choose better. That alone is powerful, because awareness is where healing begins. And even more than that, where hope begins. And hope, when it's carried in an older heart, is something sacred. It says, I'm still here. I still want to feel good. I still believe there's more joy to come. So now what? Maybe you share this message with someone you love, like a sister, a neighbor, a friend at your walking group, someone who also pours that glass of juice every morning without knowing it's doing more harm than good. Maybe you leave a comment below, letting others know they're not alone. Maybe you tell us how your breakfast has changed or how your mornings feel now. And maybe, just maybe, you hit that subscribe button and stick around. Because this space isn't just about information, it's about connection. It's about building a community where people over 60 are not just heard, but valued, where your life experience is celebrated, where your questions are taken seriously, where your health isn't written off as just getting old, but treated with the compassion and dignity it deserves. We'll keep showing up here with messages like this. Simple, practical, and full of heart. Because you deserve more than noise. You deserve clarity. You deserve care. And we're honored to be here with you. One video, one breakfast, one new beginning at a time. So here's what I want to leave you with today. You don't need to change everything. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to remember that you're still in the driver's seat. Even if your hands are a little shakier, even if your knees ache when it rains, even if you've made mistakes, you are still in charge of the story you tell with each new day. And that story can start with something as small and as powerful as a better breakfast. So let's make that next meal a quiet promise to yourself, a promise to choose what supports you, to eat for the heart that's carried you this far, to live each day, not just survive it, because you are still here. And that matters. Here's to calm mornings, strong hearts, and lives lived fully, no matter the number on the calendar. You've got this. We're right here with you, always.